Well, it's not exactly a sad confession, so I am not sad, but I'm confused. I'm confused for her. I'm wondering what she is thinking, and it doesn't, I'm not getting it. Guys, do you get it?
Not at all, Miss Nancy.
You also don't get it.
No.
You are a man.
Yes.
So, for instance, you are in love and you stay with your woman, wonderful life together, and then, as life will have it, you have to go be with your Lord. Would you want your woman to keep your ashes or things that physically keeps her clinging to you?
I wouldn't want her to keep my ashes because she has a life to live. She has to move on. It is only death which has separated us, which is fair enough. So that's what I'd wish. But Miss Nancy, this brings into mind our society. When someone dies, the person is, let's say in this confession that she just confessed, she married someone she truly deeply loved.
She loved.
From what she said.
Yes.
So when someone loses a loved one like that, the support system has to really be strong. If people are around her, they interact with her, they talk to her, they make her feel like, because she needs to recover from her loss. And sometimes we downplay that part. As I speak to you, my very good friend died, and less than 2 weeks, her mother also followed suit.
Oh, no.
Yes. Unfortunately, she had a baby, a month baby, and then she lost her life. So you could see that the mom was also in serious pain. So sometimes we don't really look at it. We just, and but it should go beyond those words. Thank you.
Thank you. We should help people that are grieving. Yes, my dear.
Miss Nancy,
Hey.
I think I don't have a problem with her keeping the ashes because death only means absence in the body, presence in the spirit. But the only problem is the communication inside the new relationship. You see, the communication needs to be clear and transparent enough. And then she also needs to have a privacy in the next relationship. She should have a better place like her suitcase or something where she'll be keeping her stuff that it won't interfere in.
But you, if you had a wife or a beloved that you live with, and she came into your new home that you're trying to build together, along with ashes from a previous relationship, how would you feel?
I see it to be normal. That's her life because that's a life that she has lived before she met me. And then she's not been able to detach herself from it. If you have not been able to detach yourself from it, then you
What are you doing in her life now? If she's still living in the past, you're supposed to be her present. All things are passed away. Behold, all things are new.
She's not living in the past. It's just like you being a born one. You are coming with a child. You are coming with...
I mean, you being born one is prohibited on this show.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I am a woman with a child.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and proudly so. And I have never needed anybody to take care of me nor my daughter. And so
maybe
we are not born
one. But maybe what I'm trying to say is you came with
a child.
A child. That's what I meant.
A living being,
A living...
not a dead being. Me coming in with a child is a living being. You can see the child, interact with the child. You can groom the child to become yours if you so wish. But the ashes of a dead husband, pass the microphone on to her, lady. My lady.
It's Nancy.
Is that how you love?
Yes. So.
You love din sasa obi wukrana. Osi de bi me mani wu.
It's serious. Sometimes we say love never dies. Maybe to her, that's how she felt. She doesn't want to let go of her first love. So she's still holding on to her love, her grief, the memories she and the late husband
You see why
shared.
this cremation thing is not good for us blacks? Because otherwise people would be having so many things at home. So you would want to keep the ashes of your beloved? God forbid, if it ever happened to you.
No.
You will let go.
Yes.
You will let go.
I'll let
That is how it's supposed to be. Ladies and gentlemen, to make the conversation even more insightful, this evening I have a psychologist with me, Marian Darko, her first time on Confessions. Let her feel loved. Let Marian feel loved. Please come on. Hello, Marian.
Yes, Nancy.
You're welcome to Confessions.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. So to join my dear Marion here, who is a psychologist in training, and she comes very highly recommended. There is also a gentleman to join the conversation. So we have a very balanced and fair conversation right here on Confessions tonight. And also for the first time, I have Mr. Albert Eisen Gansa. He is a pastor, he is a family advocate, and he is a family man. So it's good to hear from the horse's own mouth, shouldn't we? Let's have him, let's have him, let's have him. Show him some love. Hello. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know the confession. And I would want to deal with Marion first. Ladies first, right? Is it all right that she feels the need to carry physically her past into her present?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say hello to all our viewers. And Miss Nancy, this confession is a bit tough when I was listening to it. Everything I heard her say points to the fact that she's struggling with how she's grieving the husband.
Okay.
And she's been, if I'm not mistaken, probably 3 years
Yes.
past the death and
Yes.
remarried. And she still carried this into the marriage. It points to the fact that she probably didn't take her time to grieve properly. And what she's doing now, you can never fault anyone for how they grieve in any way. Whichever way a person deals with grief is valid.
Yes.
But when it begins to affect your life, when it begins to affect how productive your life is and everyone else around you, then it's a problem. And then you have to learn new and better ways to cope with the grief.
So we are looking at this. You think that this way of grieving is unhealthy?
It isn't. If she was alone, if she wasn't married and she
Was
was
still
just
grieving.
yes, that's cool. But the fact that she's gone on to marry someone else and it's affecting the marriage, then it's a problem because now it's affecting the other person as well. So she needs to find a better way to deal with what she has going on.
As a man, sir, I mean, you will live very long and in very good health. And when you are tired, you ask your God to take you. And if perchance he takes you and your wife is still around, how would you want, I want you to speak on behalf of most men, how would you want her to grieve you and how would you have her get on with her life?
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Nancy. I think I want to begin by saying that I also think that this is a very delicate situation,
Quite.
Which to me involves elements such as trust, respect, boundaries, and grief. And unfortunately, I agree with a lot of the things that my friend has said here. I mean, you wanted some balance, but
Of course.
But I think for starters, I
No,
would
that's
agree,
fine. If you all agree,
with that.
we want to have a healthy conversation.
I would like for my wife to love me and love me with all her heart whilst I am alive.
Whilst you
All right?
live.
And,
People.
and you know, it's something that we do in Ghana. In Ghana, we tend to say that we tend to show respect to the dead more than
When they live.
more than those who are living. So I would want my wife to love me with her whole being, everything. And thankfully, I have a wife who does that. By the way,
It's an
when
oh
I'm
moment,
gone-
people. Oh.
When I am gone, naturally, if you lose a loved one, somebody that you've loved all your life, you've been together, where the bond had been very tight, you will feel that grief. And so there will be a time of grieving. And so however she chooses to grieve, I think I will leave that to her. If she decided to remarry, like we have in this case, I wouldn't want her to carry my ashes into her new matrimonial home.
Even in death, you are jealous, eh? So that is a good one, because do we take the words we even say seriously? Because when we are getting committed, at the altar we say, till death do us part. And death has done you part, and you are not allowing death to actually do you. Marion, grieving. When I lost my mom, suddenly I was wondering why I was not taught in school, why nobody told me it would hurt so much. It's as if something is being ripped off my skin, my body. I could physically feel her loss. The sudden aloneness you feel, very alone I was feeling. I went through serious times of grieving, especially when I held also a responsibility that I could have been the last person to have spoken to my mom and I didn't pick her call. You know, that guilt is also there. And please, whilst we were talking about grieving, can you put us through some healthy steps of grieving? Because, hey, so long as there is life, there is death. And we would have to learn how to deal with the loss of our family and loved ones.
Right. So grief, basically, I would like to say is, let's all assume something you love being taken away from you.
Yeah.
When you have that thing, you grow an attachment to the thing. And so over time, you become comfortable. It's part of you. Whatever you do, sometimes in the things you eat, the songs you listen to, you feel that thing in the moment. And so when it's taken away from you, your brain struggles to adjust to a new system where the person or the thing no longer exists. And I think with our society, the problem we have is right from day one when we are born, we all suffer losses and we grieve. But the fact that it is not a person dying, we don't really give it the name grief.
Grief.
When you're a child, you lose your doll.
Your doll.
And you are so hurt. And your parents say, don't worry, I'll buy you a new one. It's important to let people feel the loss, the moments in the loss and everything.
And not try to replace it in our parenting.
Exactly. So with the things we play with, as we are growing, we make friends, we lose them along the way. Even when we are young, our friends die. We go to schools, we get separated, and so many things happen. It's important to feel whatever loss you are experiencing. It builds you up. And so when you grow and then you begin to lose people who are closer to you, your family, your parents, your spouse, your body has built a system where, though the pain is there,
but you understand.
You understand it. You understand this is a natural process. This is part of life. Losing things is part of life. And so there are so many emotions that come into play when it comes to grief. People think grief is just sadness. Grief involves sadness, hurt, pain, loneliness, isolation, and a bunch of behaviors. Now, the extent to which you take these behaviors determines whether it's healthy or not. So it's okay to isolate for a while, but then you can't isolate forever. It's okay to feel the loneliness, but you can't be lonely forever. It's okay. People tend to also take on behaviors such as drinking.
Just to cope.
But how much you drink is a problem. You know, drinking in itself is not a problem. But once you start abusing it, it becomes a problem. It affects your life. It affects your health. It affects your relationships, like with people. And so there are healthier ways to cope with grief. Learn to be in the moment. We must allow people to grieve. You don't have to say much to the person. Sometimes just being there for the person is enough.
Physically spending time with them.
Yes, just be there. You don't even have to ask them, let me know if you need anything. Show up for them.
Yes.
And so we rush people through the process of grief. It takes time. And also, how a person is determines how they deal with grief.
Yeah.
So maybe there's basically 5 stages of grief. There's the initial stage, which is the denial. This thing happens,
I can't believe it.
You know, and what is happening? And then there's anger. Now it's hitting you that this really happened, and then you start bargaining with death or whatever you've lost.
Yes.
I wish it was me. Could I have done something better? Could I have spent more time with them? Like you said, you could have picked up your mom's call.
That last call?
Exactly. So you try to find ways to cope, and then there's the depression. And then you finally accept the whole thing. But the thing is, not everybody goes through the stage in the order that it's laid out. Some people might start from the first stage straight to acceptance, and then maybe after a 10-year period, they come back to the anger.
Because I remember that I thought I was done with grieving my mom until I had my daughter. having given birth and not having my mom around to see my child and help me out, I went into a whole mood of re-grieving,
Exactly.
like she had just died.
Exactly. And so many people deal with grief differently. And that is why you cannot chastise someone for how they grieve. You can only be there for them and offer them the kind of support that would change the illogical way of their grieving or the brain that they use to grieve. So, yeah, there are a bunch of ways. Maybe along the line we will talk
We'll
about
talk
that.
more
Yeah.
about it. That's a good one. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, I'd like to us to discuss losses, not just with death. People lose relationships, people lose associations, people lose beloveds, and they are unable to let go. The ability to let go. This marriage did not work. Yet it is, the person is still, every conversation you have with them, it's about their ex-husband. And it's like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they are still living in that moment, letting go and letting God. I know you're a preacher man as well.
Yes, I think that, like we've said earlier, death is part of life. In this life, as they say loosely, you will lose some,
and you will gain some.
You win some, you gain some. So losses are part of our lives. I want to use a personal example. For instance, before I got married, when I was in uni, so I was dating a young lady. We wanted to get married to each other. And we were very close on campus, and people saw us on campus. We're together, going here together, going there together.
That kind of nice couple, kind of.
Yes, yes. And then after uni, we didn't get married eventually. All right, so I mean, we didn't get married. And then I remember when I got to know that this person had gotten married, I didn't even know that she was going to get married. I'd gone to her home, and then I went to find a picture
of herself and her husband.
in the new marriage, right? So I remember going to tell my parents the following day. I said, "Oh, this is what happened." And my father said, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay. You will surely get another one. You could even get a better one, all right?" And I think that from that example, I can say that yes, I did get one. But how did I cope with it? I always tell myself that whatever happens to you is not the end of this world. And I tell people something. I tell people that whatever happens to you is not the worst that could have happened to you. And that's what I tell myself, that whatever happens to you, whatever mishap that happens to you is not the worst.
That could have.
Something worse than that could have happened to you. So sometimes that's what I used to console myself, to say, look, something worse than that could have, it's not the worst, it's not the end of this life. And I try to tell my kids, I tell people that whatever has happened to you is, yes, you lose something, and like Mary has said, in the moment, you feel the loss.
Yeah.
You feel the pain. That is natural. And sometimes, I mean, I guess psychologists will tell you that let them cry a little bit.
Yes.
All right? I mean, somebody has lost something, either a relationship or death or whatever. Let them grieve.
Express
let them
their
express
emotions.
It, exactly. And then so expression, so grief has to be both expressed and resolved.
Yes.
So not only expressed, but also resolved. So the way to resolve it sometimes have people around to help you, to support you. But by all means, I tell myself, it is not the end of the world. You have life. Life must go on. So that's how I help myself and other people.
Whilst we're on this conversation, it just clicked the number of young men and young women losing their lives because they lost beloveds in relationships. Marian, how do we tell them that you're just 22 and you're going to be 45, and within this period, you're going to meet so many wonderful human beings? Some will hurt you, you will hurt some, and you will still live. How do we get them to understand that the loss of a beloved does not mean the end of your life? Because these are things that are trending, especially in our universities, and I do not know how we can help these young ones.
Yes. So a lot of times there's a certain timeline set for our lives. So people believe that right after uni, you get into maybe the corporate world, you meet someone, you get married, you have kids, and then you go on to live in a fairyland. Life doesn't always work like that.
Happen like that.
Exactly. And so right from day one, we shouldn't, even with raising kids, when they go to school, when they fail in class, how we approach all these things. It teaches them a certain kind of resilience that they need to be able to fight through failures. They need to be able to build their character. Every loss is an opportunity for you to build your character and yourself. And it teaches you also that the things we are seeing now that matters to us may not matter to us in a few
years.
Exactly. And so teaching our children how to be open-minded. Even now, there are parents who, the new generation I can see, are really trying to teach their children resilience, open-mindedness, so that they don't feel stuck in a certain way or in a certain cultural belief system. And so we need to let people understand there's always something better ahead. Once you make up your mind that, okay, if this happens, I'm taking the lesson from this, I'm moving on to something else. Like he said, the worst thing that could have happened to you
has not happened yet.
Exactly. So there's always something worse that could happen to you, and also there's always something better that can happen to you. Once you carry that mindset, you can move on in life. In life, everything is about mindset. In healing, in doing well, everything starts from the mind. You can have two people go through, let's say, a tragic incident. Let's assume two people who suffered serious burns during the June 3rd.
Yes.
The kind of mindset that both of them approach their healing journeys determines how well they even recover.
Heal.
So it's the mind you approach, you taking your medication, you telling yourself, there's more I can do.
I'm
even
still
with
alive.
Exactly.
You know, alive.
With my situation, what can I do? How can I touch other people's lives? There's always a way you can approach things with your mind that will change things for you.
This is Confessions on TV3, and we bring you the best conversation that sends lessons across to you and your family. I am Miss Nancy. Confessions is brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go, please don't go. I'll be right back. You are welcome back to Confessions on TV3. Tonight, I have with me Mr. Albert, and it's his first time on the show, and he's giving us nuggets, very, very, very wise words. And of course, our technical person, our psychologist in training, and you're doing awesome too, Miriam Dako. It's great having you. So back to her confession. How long do we need to move on? After a death, after a fiscal loss, after a breakup, especially when it comes to relationships, how long?
So there's no set time to get over anything.
That's why I fall in love and out of love, fall in love and out of. Hey, now to be a budo.
There's no set time for how long a person can grieve. So like I said earlier, it is how you grieve. So there's different ways you can memorialize a person.
Okay.
There are better and healthier coping mechanisms. There's where you can see a therapist to definitely help you through these things. And sometimes some of the conversations you need to have with yourself.
Yes.
You need to find out what you want in the near future, how you want to live in the near future. And sometimes you even have to do a role play where you assume the role of the person who is dead and ask yourself, if I was the person on the other side, how would I want my loved ones to move on? If you knew the kind of relationship you had with them and the kind of aspirations they even had for you, it helps you, to guide how you maneuver their absence. And also words of affirmation. Sometimes you need to put things down in writing. You need to journal your emotions, your thoughts, and you need to post it in a place where you can constantly read and remind yourself that I'm on this journey. I can't be sad every day. I can't be down every day. There's more to life. I need to move on. I need to live in a way that if ever I meet this person in the afterlife, whatever your beliefs are, will they be happy to see me doing well or not doing well? So there are so many coping mechanisms. There are so many ways you can help yourself.
So if somebody breaks out up a relationship and within a month the person is in love again, it's not always a rebound thing. They could actually have a strength to actually move on to another.
Exactly. Exactly. So there are people who would easily
Akobamka,
yes, so there are people who actually are so resilient that it happens. They cry. They probably lock themselves up for a day or two. They cry
3 days.
3 days.
And the third day you wear
And
red lipstick.
She's done. She's moving on because I'm not waiting for anybody. You get that?
Life goes on.
So and then someone will take longer. So when you don't take your time, the problem is always when you don't take your time to digest what you are going through. You carry certain excesses into the next one and will keep repeating itself. Yeah.
You know, traditionally, I remember even myself and a friend of mine, when we lost our mothers and our fathers had to get on with their lives and remarry, we were sort of struggling with it. Why is he doing it so soon? And all of that. Traditionally, you know, people would actually have a serious conversation. Meanwhile, it is said that you're only supposed to be a widow or widower for a whole year. After that, you can get on with your life. Why is it that society makes people feel bad when they want to get on with their lives after a loss?
I think, well, there might be antecedents to these things, but of course, society will always have its own expectations of people. But I like what Miriam said. You need to be strong. You need to be tough in yourself and also in your mindset. I have an uncle. I mean, I have a case in point. There's an uncle, one of my father's younger brothers, who had a wife. They were so madly in love with each other. In fact, he's one of the reasons why I decided I want to get married early. I mean, the way he related to
his wife was
his
beautiful.
Wife. When I was a teenager, when I was about 16, 17 years, I went to spend some time with them in their home, and I loved the way they related.
You were inspired positively.
Yeah, I mean, my parents had a great marriage, but I also loved the way they were. In fact, his siblings, all of his siblings saw him to be different. This is a lady he met. He used to be at Infantsman, and the lady was at Wesley Girls. So they met. In fact, the ex-wife, or the late wife, told me how they met. They met when they were in the bus. They both lived in Kumasi, used to live in Kumasi. They were traveling to Cape Coast, going to school, and they were in Form 3, I mean, the old system at the time. Even though the lady didn't want to, as they say, give him face, but as fate would have it, they met at KNUST. They got married. They had such a wonderful marriage. Unfortunately, the woman passed when she was 45 years. Oh, no. A lot of us thought that he would not be able to marry again because we're like, how is he going to find another person like this one? Because, you know, the marriage, as they say, was like made in heaven. And, you know, we thought he wouldn't find another person like that again.
People would actually wish you wouldn't.
Yeah. And I remember when I first came to Accra, this is in like 2001 or so. So I used to live with this uncle. We're going for a morning walk one day, and he was telling me how he himself, he didn't want to get married again because he thought he wouldn't find another person like this one. So he kept his wedding band on. He kept portraits. Of course, at the time, the wife was not cremated, so he didn't have the ashes there. But kept portraits of the late wife. Everything about the late
stayed the same.
Yes, and he said, I'm not going to get married again. But I guess, I don't know whether it was a state of denial or whatever, or whether that was part of the grieving process, but he said one day people had called him to advise him that you need to move on. He said, no, you guys don't understand what I'm going through. But he said one day it just hit him like that, and he said, no, I need to move on with life. So he removed the band. Within a year, he was married again. All right? I'm sure people said, oh, then you didn't really love your wife, you didn't really love. But like we're all saying, life has to move on.
Life has to move
All right,
on.
so yes, the fact that, for me, the fact that you get married in a year or around thereabout does not mean that you did not have genuine love for your partner. You love the person, what was the person living, and I'm sure the person attested to it. Life has to go on at a certain point in time.
If you have any love for your beloved, make sure you're loving on them, adoring them, worshiping them whilst they live. Because when they are gone, they have no need of your love. This is Confessions on TV3. Guys, we're having a great conversation, are we not? Yes, let me bring you guys in. Oh, lady in white. Lady in white. I will take the lady in white before I come to you, my dear.
As a woman, you should have conflicted and lingering feelings over your past love, and also process your emotions by inculcating coping mechanisms through therapy or a supportive friend or family member. And focus on fulfilling your current relationship, because they say without discovery, there can't be a recovery. So she has to discover herself.
Today you came prepared. Without discovery, there can't be recovery, huh? That's a good one. Thank you. I knew she brought something. I will take this break again, and I'll be right back. Now, we're dealing with this woman. She says she's in love with her new husband. She's all right. But the passion with which she talks about her dead husband is not the same that she talks about her current husband. Will this marriage survive this challenge of you bringing the physical ashes of your ex-husband, who is dead, into a new home? Does the husband have a point that, listen, get these things out of here? I cannot live in my own house with a ghost.
Yes. So with whatever instances that is being presented in the marriage right now, it doesn't show of a marriage that would survive.
Oh.
Yes. And when I listened to her confession, when she was talking about the second husband, she said, I decided to give him a chance.
A chance.
When she speaks of the first husband, she's so sure she loves this man. Exactly. So the second husband, unfortunately, is like collateral damage. Yes, he wasn't supposed to be there. Even if he was the right person for her, the time wasn't right. She needed to have taken her time to deal with the loss very well. I want to assume probably she was being pressured to go on and move on and
life,
exactly
because she's a young woman without a child.
Yes, and this person probably showed up and doing doing everything that looked like, you know, a very good prospective husband. Yeah. And so she didn't take her time to deal with the loss. This is someone she really loved, and the fact that she saw the process of this man through the sickness, that in itself is quite traumatizing. And so the kind of love he also gave her, she wants to hold on to it. She's become so fixated on keeping him, and it's become an obsession.
Yeah.
Because why are you keeping, you've remarried, you need to want better for yourself.
So you believe that, I mean, technically, mentally it's healthy for her to let go of the ashes?
Yes, absolutely.
That would help in her healing.
Absolutely. And she should have had this conversation even with the man in the beginning. Listen, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm doing to cope with it. And maybe he could have also been open-minded and said, okay, you know what, maybe if I allow her to grieve openly or freely, within a shorter time, she could have probably recovered faster, and she on her own would get rid of the ashes. And so she really needs to
let go of it.
Yeah, she has to.
It's Albert.
Yeah, I also agree. I think people we can take lessons from some of these things, right, when
That
they
we
happen.
should.
And the first point we're making is that you need to fully grieve before you move into
move on.
another one. And it's obvious that this didn't happen in this particular case. To the question that you asked, I think that if the lady continues this way, I'm not sure the marriage will last. But I also think that is an opportunity for the man also to, if the man is a mature person, there's an opportunity for the man to also show love. Yes, it could well be that, like you said, the woman speaks in a way with some kind of passion. She doesn't speak with the same level of passion when she's speaking about this second man. But I think the man can take it as a challenge and then warm himself to the man. And I'll give an example. Again, I want to use this uncle that I spoke about. This is a real life situation. So the woman.
So is our confession, actually.
Yes, so it's a confession on their behalf. I'm sure they are listening. So the woman he married next, the woman was telling me again how they got together. And this is a young lady, I think then I'm sure she was about maybe 30 or very early 30s, and she had said marriage was not her thing.
Yeah.
Because she had encountered some of her friends who had been married and had problems and always talking about problems and issues here and there. So she said, well, I don't think marriage is my thing. For her, she wanted to come to Accra. Then she was living at Obuasi. She said she wanted to get to either the AGC hospital or to the VRA hospital, where she would make money and then travel.
Yeah.
She wanted to just travel, make money, and live her life. She didn't want anybody to come and stress her. But then she met this man who had lost
his wife.
a wife almost a year prior. And the way, according to her, the way the man treated her, she said the day the man proposed to her, she said this in front, she said, Sanchamara, Mitsu Nyuhumpa, and
Say yes. Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
and then she said, again in front, she said, Abba Benyini. She never thought she would find a man like that. All right. So I think it is the way the man warmed himself into the lady's heart. So I think that, yes, this lady finds herself in a certain situation, but I think the man should take it as a challenge. If the man truly loves the woman, the Bible says that, let me follow your cue. The Bible says that love is patient.
It is kind.
And love is kind. And love bears all things. So,
yes,
if I were the man, honestly speaking, I wouldn't want the ashes of the late husband in the space where we share now. But I think that the man should also be patient and help her. If there's still some amount of grieving that still has to be done, I think the man should be patient and help her out. And I think to the woman, my advice to the woman would be, yes, you may want to keep the ashes if you want as a sign of respect for your late husband, or also as a way of grieving, not in a home. I think she can find a neutral place, a place where she can keep that, and occasionally, she could say, but if you keep it in your matrimonial home, chances are that you'll be seeing it every day, and that will not help you to bond well with your bond with your husband. Yeah.
Dearly beloved, this has been another great episode of Confessions on TV3, brought to you by MTN everywhere you go. I am Miss Nancy, and I have had Albert Ganser and Miriam Darkon. And I would end with these words. Look critically at your beloved, your spouse, your wife, your husband, your companion, and ask, am I being loved, or I happened to have happened to them at the right time? Food for thought. Same time next week, Confessions comes to you again. Bye-bye.